All right, I'm gonna pull us out, and then when we get them in there, we'll. All right, hello everybody, and welcome to Midwest Star Wars Fanatics Live. Well, that's the old name. Sorry, kind of reverting back. Welcome to the vet and the tech. Sorry, I've been out for a few. Come back from my neck surgery has been great. It's good to be back, and obviously you can tell we have a special with us, Michael Havens, the good old ICCC founder and showrunner, and we're going to talk about that today. But before we get into that good stuff and all the juicy stuff, we are going to have a surprise guest announcement tonight for his convention as well. But we're going to talk a little bit, and I mean a little bit because I don't know about you guys, but the Mando. Let's just jump into the meat and bones of that last episode real quick, and then we'll just go on. You know, this season has been kind of interesting, and people who know my outlook on this, I've been very surprised how Mando is getting the Boba Fett treatment this season and kind of getting taken to the back burner, and Bo-Katan is now the main focus, which it has been said that that's the way it's supposed to be now. But were you guys, I don't even know how, and I'm going to put this out here now, everybody, because I had somebody come at me about this, about the hate. I am not hating who is in the cameos in this episode. I have no beef with any of that. I just hate how this episode kind of derailed and kind of was just like a complete filler episode. But I'll let Michael, Travis, you guys talk about it a little bit. I'll get back in. And everybody who's listening, I want to know what you're thinking right now, too.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on. Complete disclaimer starting off, I am very glad that Disney is making us new Star Wars stuff all the time, and I enjoy it on Wednesdays. To get back to what you're talking about, the previous episode of Mando. Okay, I've watched a lot of TV in my lifetime, a lot. And one part of TV is when the show starts tanking, then they start pumping out random celebrities over and over and over. Now, I have been anti-random super celebrity for any kind of Star Wars anything since the dawn of time. I think every Star Wars person should be picked out of the middle of nowhere because I think it's very crucially important to see that Star Wars person as that Star Wars character. Now, it's got nothing to do with the people that were cast. Shoot, man, I absolutely love absolutely everything else Jack Black is in. I think he's hilarious. The problem is I saw it and it's Jack Black. It's not Sergeant Bombardier or whatever you decided to call him that week. Danny Trejo was not the Rain Corps Keeper. The Rain Corps Keeper's a fat guy with a sack on his head. I've seen the movie. That's what my problem is with this. They're trouncing out guest stars and it's turning into Marvel. I mean, nothing against Marvel. Lots of people like Marvel. Marvel's not my particular thing. Star Wars has always been my thing, but Marvel, I find that most of their movies are 45 minutes to an hour of intros. It's like the beginning to WWE. Like they just walk out and they're like, yeah, Captain America. And then the next one's like, yeah, Arrow guy. And you know what I mean? And they did that with this Mandalorian. And I was sitting there going, who is that lady? Because I know that lady from somewhere the whole time. And that's garbage. This is Star Wars. It's supposed to be in a galaxy far, far away. At least they used to have the common decency and respect when it was somebody like Simon Pegg that they put in it. They put him in an outfit. Or if it was Paul Rudd, they put him in a stormtrooper outfit. Or when they had the stormtrooper that was interrogating Rey, where she's like, you'll drop your blaster. That was Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig, yeah.
But they had the sense, the common sense. You're in Star Wars. You're no longer XYZ celebrity from XYZ. And if you are, you have to do it the Samuel L. Jackson route, which was well done, which was Samuel L. Jackson just happens to be a dude in Jedi robes, but his entire personality and even lightsaber were Samuel L. Jackson. It may as well said bad mother on the side of that because that's what it looked like. But if you're going to do that, lean into it, fine. But man, this was cameo, and that scares me because right before the show, any media, any TV show for the past billion years jumps the shark, they start shoving celebrities in your face. And that scares me. And the reason why it scares me so much is Pedro Pascal is a monster now. He is the biggest thing since, I don't know, Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you he's not going to be in that show after probably this year or the next.
Yeah. I mean, Travis, what were your thoughts on that? Let's hear a little bit. And
yeah, I mean, the
people it was, it really doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, the cameos to me definitely took me out of it. Like as soon as I saw Jack Black and then Jack Black started being Jack Black, I was like, I'm watching Jack Black play a Star Wars character.
Right.
It wasn't an actor playing, you know, I'm not 100% against, you know, other well-known actors showing like Moff Gideon, Giancarlo. I've seen him in other things, but he came in. So I don't need to be completely random, never seen before actor. But if you're going to bring in somebody that's really well known, you know, Christopher Lloyd, Jack Black, it's got to be done in a very, I guess, deliberate way. It has to be done well. And it just felt like that particular episode, they just threw multiple cameos all together in like the same sequence. And it was just like, it just felt really disjointed from the get-go. I didn't have an issue with the episode with the kind of, hey, let's solve the crime and play a Star Wars CSI sort of thing. I was okay with that. It's just there's so many things this season that just, I feel like it's lacking like the heart of what made the first two seasons of The Mandalorian so good. It's like something's just missing. And I don't know if it's that having that overarching understanding of where we're headed and why, as opposed to, well, we're just kind of making it up as we go, and it doesn't seem as cohesive as it was in the first two seasons.
Yeah, it's just, hopefully these next two episodes kind of redeem, and from what I'm hearing, it's pretty good. Obviously, they showed it at Celebration, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. Some great news out of Celebration to kind of put me back on the happy path. But it just, like I said, it's just the way it went. I mean, yeah, the droids were cool, but it was just, if you look up in the dictionary filler episode, this episode is there. That is the definition of filler episode in the dictionary. So that's it. I'm done with the Mando. Let's talk happy news. Before we get into that, also too, I want to thank our sponsors. Obviously, Travis and I, you can follow us at the #show, #show.com. And also make sure you check out our friends at trgtoys.com. Marvel, Star Wars, you name it, they got it. Check them out. You won't be disappointed. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the fun that's happened this week. And that's obviously Star Wars Celebration. It was in Europe. Unfortunately, all three of us, none of us got to go this year, which was a shame because it looked like it was pretty exciting. And we're going to watch one of the trailers that I thought was most exciting about Celebration, but we'll get into that here in a second. But just overall, great news out there. I mean, Michael, Travis, we're getting 3 movies now. It looks like it's pretty solid. It looks like we're not going to be wishing back and forth. We're going to have Dave Filoni with his Mando universe, which I don't even want to get into what my prediction is going to be with that. It's going to be heartbreaking, everybody. And I'll stop you guys now. No, I have Grogu living. All right. You guys know how I am with him. He's going to make it, but somebody from the Mando world isn't. And you probably can guess who that is. That's my prediction. But we're getting, the first Jedis. We're getting Mandoverse. We're getting Rey back, which I'm kind of excited about. I want to see what they do with that. But one thing that's very interesting about this, everybody, we're going to talk about this on another show, is Kathleen Kennedy did say Rian Johnson's trilogy is still a go when he is ready to do it. So, JJ, I know you're probably out there watching. If you are, get ready because he's still coming. But before we get into Ahsoka, because that's the trailer we're going to watch with everybody here, Michael, Travis, what were some of the big wow moments from Celebration that was announced?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was probably I'll throw out this caveat. I've heard about movies being announced multiple times from Star Wars leadership, and so far none of them have come to fruition. Rogue Squadron was going to be a movie. There's been a lot of rumors about movies, but no, I'm excited about the movies. I think the set way in the past one with kind of like the first Force user could be a really cool story. The Rey return, and we'll see how that kind of sets the course maybe for some future things. and of course Dave Filoni's Mandoverse sort of movie. Announcement kind of piggybacking on our last conversation we had here about sort of the lack of direction I feel like the Mandalorian this season has, gives me some glimmer of hope that, okay, fine, Dave Filoni now has a roadmap in mind, a la Avengers Phase 1, leading up to something. So even if it seems like there's no direction right now after 6 episodes this season, it seems like, okay, there must be some sort of master plan that's going to culminate in this film. And maybe that does, to Michael's point with Pedro Pascal, maybe that helps him be more engaged and be like, hey, you're going to be in a Star Wars movie. We'll let you take the helmet off. You can have your pretty face up there and be forever attached to a Star Wars feature film that's going to make $1 billion. That maybe is some, a carrot and a stick approach to say, hey, stay on board with us, keep it going, and we'll make this happen for you. So, but that's probably, for me, is probably the most exciting thing. But a lot of other stuff is really cool too.
All right, Michael, what was your highlights from this year's celebration?
I think Ahsoka looks cool. I think them bringing back a lot more lightsaber stuff is a good call. As much as you want to preach that the Star Wars world isn't necessary to have lightsabers in it, it's kind of really freaking cool to see lightsabers in Star Wars. So go with it. But I think Ahsoka looks good. I'm really excited for Acolyte. I'm all about that. I'm excited to see what they do with the Old Republic. I am a little bit nervous about the Rian Johnson thing, just because I think Rian Johnson is too much Rian Johnson and not enough Star Wars, if you know what I mean. I think that happens with a lot of these people. Why do you got to make a super crazy famous director the leader of the Star Wars? Think of everybody who directed any old Star Wars movie. Yeah. It was like George Lucas. He was like nobody. And I think that's kind of important because they have to connect with the regular people. I mean, as far as Rian Johnson is concerned, man, you want to go watch Glass Onion and learn how billionaires live? Awesome. It was awesome. But as far as connecting with regular people about regular life things, which is what Star Wars is, it's the story of a kid who came from nowhere who saved the galaxy. I mean, that's what we all want to do. And when you take that away and you just, I mean, I like all of Rian Johnson's other movies, I absolutely love. And I think that his Star Wars movie was a phenomenal movie. I think it was a terrible Star Wars movie. That's my problem with it. It was a good movie. Absolutely. Yeah. That's not what we're looking at for Star Wars, man. We're looking for lightsabers and rocket packs and whistling birds. And you know what I mean? That's what we're going for. Yeah. As far as the Ahsoka casting, tiny little issue. I think Rosario Dawson is great. I think she looks great. But once again, Rosario Dawson, I know from Men in Black. Rosario Dawson, I know from 800 other things except for Ahsoka. And I think with a character like that, you can really go with a no-name. I think Rey is cool. Rey is somebody who had hardly any, Daisy Ridley had hardly anything before she was Rey. She had some stuff, but nothing that you're going to be like, oh, that's Rosario Dawson from Men in Black. You know what I mean? Like, so she is Rey, and you should lean into that. I mean, the best parts about Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill is that they became Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia 24/7 for the fans because they love the fans. Or you got to be super duper giant like Harrison Ford, who will still love the heck out of you, even if you're like, oh, Star Wars garbage. You know what I mean? So, but that's why I that's the only problem. But I think she's going to be great. I think the show's going to be great. I have no issue with her being cast, except for the fact that she's too famous already. What happens is they go, all right, pretty famous person, we're going to make you a famous Star Wars person. And the thing that the fans don't look at is something that I happen to look at a lot of times, where I'm a convention promoter. And, well, that's not what I really do, but I look at it from a convention promoter standpoint. And how do they think you're ever going to, you saw the new Dark Jedi guy? That dude is crazy famous, like super duper rich already. Why is he ever going to go sign an autograph? And if he is, it's going to be $275. That's the same thing with Rosario Dawson. That's the same thing. Look at it. And it's like, why are you doing that? And I don't know, man. If you're already super duper famous, they're using that name recognition of the famous person to sell the show. And they're already Disney and Lucasfilm and everything. You just make a tweet and it goes to like 400 million people. Like, yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's the same thing. But dude, that show looks bonkers awesome. Don't get me wrong.
And just because of that, we're going to bring up the teaser trailer just so everybody to watch it. And if you missed it, you're going to see it now. And if you didn't miss it, guess what? We're going to watch it again. So,
but it's awesome.
yeah,
and Grand Admiral Thrawn is definitely
yeah.
my favorite thing out of Celebration by far. And
all
the
right, well,
cast.
here it comes, everybody. The teaser trailer of Ahsoka.
Something's coming. Something dark. I sense it.
This is a new beginning. For some, war. For others, power.
It's been a while. Things have changed. I started hearing whispers about Thrawn's return as heir to the Empire. We have to prepare for the worst. The Jedi fell a long time ago. There aren't many left.
Perhaps it is time to begin again.
Yeah,
It's really good.
Everybody knows me, knows how much I'm an Ahsoka fan, and this trailer just has got me all giddy. You know, I'm not gonna lie. To me, it's just one of those things where the little Easter eggs in that trailer already. And I know that they got to see an extended trailer. We have seen the face of Thrawn now, which is awesome. You know, Lars coming back and doing the voice of Thrawn. There was no other person you could do that. I'm glad they did that because I
was so scared they were going to pick anybody else on the planet.
But just the little Easter eggs we saw there, like, you know, the world between worlds when she was fighting, you know, that guy that was in the background there, you know, so obviously that's going to be used in there. You know, heir to the Empire. I mean, come on. I mean, if you were a Thrawn fan and you didn't get chills with that, and I don't know what get you excited about Star Wars, everybody.
Yeah.
But this trailer just, to me, it had everything. I've been waiting for this series for a long time. We get it in August. You guys see how emotional and excited I am about it, but, you know, let's hear your thoughts on it. And, you know, what was the most exciting part of those trailers for you two?
Bad guys, for sure. I like
Yeah.
Star Wars is very limited on bad guys, and both of them have sabers. 3 of them have sabers. I mean, I don't know who that the Inquisitor is, the sister.
Oh, the Inquisitor, yeah. With,
I don't know which one is. Yeah, I don't know who they are, but still, that's 3 bad guys with lightsabers. So they have me sold on that. And man, I even like her as Ahsoka. It's just she's so darn famous. That's the only problem I have with it. Otherwise, it is the coolest thing on the face of the planet. And I think it's going to be awesome. I think it's bringing back lightsabers. It's bringing back the Rebels story, which is, I don't know how to say this, but like literally my favorite storyline in all of Star Wars. And I know it's a cartoon, and people go, "It's a cartoon," and I just go, "Please just watch it because you don't understand." Like, it's not. It's just the best. You know what I mean? And so they have a really high bar to hit, and that trailer hit it as far as I'm concerned. So to be somebody who really loves the Rebels, and even more so, man, I was alive during the dark times. The Heir to the Empire series, I have read 2,000 times. I've had Timothy Zahn at my show 4 times, I think. I mean, and that's, you don't do that, but I do it because it's Timothy Zahn and he's awesome. And like that, I'm really, really excited to see that happen on the live screen. And I am so happy with the way they cast Thrawn that I have absolutely no complaints. But here's what I'm saying, all right? To my point, Sabine, I don't know her from anything. She's perfect. Perfect. And the reason why is because I don't know her from anything. So as of right now, this second, she's Sabine. She's sold anymore. She's definitely her. That's that's my disconnect, and maybe that's my fault because I've seen so much, man. I watch everything. I love TV. I love movies. That's my hook, you know.
Yeah, it's and you guys know, like Travis knows, and everybody who's watching who knows me knows how much I love Rebels. Rebels is probably
Best.
my just other than it, growing up with the original Star Wars. Rebels is like I just remember watching that last season, and it was like 5 of us like messaging each other back and forth, and when Kanan died,
dude,
and I was like I couldn't even message. Like I was like what happened? Like this was like our I don't know.
You
I
should
can't
have
even
seen
say
me
it.
trying to make the graphic for the convention, man, because it has the graphic where he's doing the death scene there. And I'm just sitting there like, oh, this is terrible, man. But you got it. That's
it's unreal. And that's why I can't wait to talk about your convention, because people who don't know, they're going to want to know, and the people who do know, they know.
Yeah.
But it's just unreal that this Rebels is getting brought into Ahsoka. And again, I'm sorry everybody if I'm talking so much about this, but everybody knows how passionate I am about Ahsoka and Rebels and all this coming together. This is one of the storylines that I have been waiting for a long time, and I just hope it just lives up to the hype, and that's what I am.
Yeah, I think based on the trailer, it definitely has me more. So I've always enjoyed Rebels. I'm not as big of a fan of it, I guess, as you are, Greg. Not because I didn't like it, because you're an 11 and I'm at like a 9, so it's like I still really like it. But seeing this trailer, I think, has me more excited for the Ahsoka series than I was before the trailer came out, which is obviously the point of the trailer. Yeah. So kudos to them. They seem to be tracking definitely in the right direction. And kind of tag on to what Michael was saying about Rebels being a cartoon and give it a chance. Guilty as charged. I was kind of a naysayer at first. I watched like one episode and I was like, the animation style is really not my thing compared to like what Clone Wars was. But you kept telling me, hey, stick with it. And the more I started to watch it, the more I was like, okay, there's a couple little kind of filler episodes I could, take it or leave it. But hey, once you get to the end of like that first season, you're like, oh, okay, we're going somewhere here now. And then it just kind of continues to build. Even the Clone Wars are sort of the same way, where early on seasons kind of hit or miss, but then 5, 6, season 7 was just, it's all of a sudden it just ramped up. So yeah, if you're watching this and you haven't watched Rebels, definitely give it a chance.
Do it.
Watch it.
I think you're definitely going to appreciate Ahsoka more. Cassandra, if you're watching this, she has not watched Rebels yet. So everybody who knows Cassandra, get on her about that. But we'll dig more into Celebration in our next episode next week. We'll talk more about the new Mando, and obviously we'll talk more about Celebration. But I really want to get in the meat and potatoes of why we're here today. And obviously we have Michael here as a guest for us today, because obviously there's another convention coming up here pretty soon in May. It's, down in Nashville. It's one that you might have heard on. But it's exciting because obviously we just found out we're not having a Star Wars Celebration in the U.S. for a while now. Good old Japan in 2025. So what I like to call is our next one of our Star Wars conventions, even though he does have some others, and he does have a pretty big name coming to his convention here. But Michael, tell us a little bit before we get into this amazing guest lineup, because we're going to start with the original trilogy and work our way up to some of the headliners.
Yeah.
But Michael, tell us a little bit about ICCC. See, I'm choking up here. Excuse me, everybody. And and then we'll jump right into the first one, which we'll talk about the good old Emperor here in a second.
Yeah, ICC Con is the easiest way to say it. But ICC Con, the reason for all these C's up here, if you don't know, it actually stands for Imperial Commissary Collectors Convention. The reason why is it started out with a Facebook group that grew and grew, and those Facebook group meetings grew and grew. And then I noticed that some corporate conventions are very, very expensive. So I tried to make something that's much more cost effective, which we've done. There's free parking, the VIP feeds you, and it's really, really nice and gives you a full day access with just VIPs where the entire show's going on. So we have a lot of different things like that because it's just a whole bunch of nerds making it special. The other hook about our convention that's pretty much different than everything else out there, including even Celebration, we focus on collectibles, rare collectibles, expensive collectibles, stuff like sitting behind me, like old vintage toys, stuff like that, really high quality items. And the reason why we focus on that is because that's my true passion. Is I am a vintage Star Wars collector, and I love this stuff. And a lot of the Imperial Commissary accounts for more buying, selling, and trading of authentic vintage Star Wars toys than even eBay now. So we have a really, really deep connection into the vintage toy community. So that allows us to pick, for lack of a better word, better vendors. You will not walk in and find a container load of junk from China at $1 a piece from yesterday. You'll find the rarest toys in the world and the rarest vendors in the world selling those toys. And the reason why we focus on that is because truly at its heart, it's a collector's convention. So what's happened is over the years, it has grown and grown. And then last year we had a couple spoilers on our main stage that just completely went viral and blew up everything. And we sold out at Saturday at noon last year. And it really got crazy last year. It got big. We had the Clone Wars cast, and we had the Emperor and Anthony Daniels and stuff like that. But it was really, really good. Great show. And we needed a bigger venue. So we just got a way bigger venue. It's absolutely massive. It's a legitimate convention center instead of a hotel, so we can actually leave all the length on the ATST this year instead of having to remove 6 feet for the chandelier. So stuff like that is going to be really good. Plus, we have eliminated the hallway, which caused all the problems last year. Not really problems, but it was congested. And the reason why it was congested is because we tripled the amount of attendees last year that we had the year before. The venue was great. The people at the venue are great. We just can't fit as many people as come into that venue. So I got something way bigger. It's absolutely massive. We got a whole bunch of stuff going on, bands, food trucks, live bands. We've got a bunch of different events. We're probably going to put on a demolition derby for you as long as I can figure out how to do that. I got a helicopter so we can take helicopter rides, stuff like that. So it's pretty out there and different. And it's more of like a really great weekend party than a Comic-Con or even like a Star Wars Celebration type thing, because it's not really Singapore Airlines booths. We avoid that kind of stuff. We would rather have somebody. That's why our tables are so inexpensive. For the size of the con it is and the kind of guests we have, our tables are inexpensive, and that way we get an influx, an overflow of vendors. And that way we can pick and choose what we feel are the best vendors. But I'm quite sure you guys have seen it, and our vendors are completely different than any other convention. It's just like rare stuff. And then, so it grew and grew, and now we're in this bigger venue, and it's gone viral a million times, and I'm on a bunch of podcasts all the time, but I'm so glad to be on your guys because I love your podcast, and you've been there since, year one you've been coming, right?
Yep.
And, yeah, no, it's really, really exciting to see how much it's grown. And yeah, we're getting more and more guest stars, more and more vendors, more and more props, displays, star cars. We're going to do a parade this year. I mean, it's gotten massive. And luckily, I have a wonderful team that helps me out, and that team grows every year. And I have wonderful people like you that talk about it, that tell more people to come. And the more people who come, the less money I lose, and then the more guest stars I get next year.
And speaking of like the guest lineups, I mean, your guest lineups have been great. And it's not just like a convention where you just see them. I mean, you bumped into these guests all over the place during the convention. But one guest I want to bring up real quick because he's actually watching right now. So I think we might want to say hi to him real quick. And I don't know this guy or not. Steven, thanks for watching tonight, man. We can't wait to see you again down in Nashville. So you just jumped ahead of everybody because you were watching tonight. So you are now our first guest. We're announcing on the show. We already knew you were coming, but there you are, Steven. We can't wait to see you there. But I wanted to
send you your email for your flight, Steve. You're good.
So, but yeah, your guest lineup again has just been going there. And let's just start with the first one. Obviously, he is in Rebels, which is kind of cool, but he's also our, we know him from the good old Emperor himself. And
yeah, Ian McDermott, he's an actual wonderful, wonderful person. Nicest guy. We really became friends after last year's show, like legit friends, which is crazy for me because I'm a Star Wars nerd. We went out to Anaheim for Celebration last year, and he invited us to go to the Disney night and stuff like that. And we got to go through Galaxy's Edge with the Emperor. That actually, shoot, man, you want to tell everybody about a convention you're throwing? Show up at the Cantina with the Emperor, and you get all over TikTok. But yeah, it was really cool. I was lucky enough to ride the Rise of the Resistance with him. He literally sat right here next to me for his first ever ride on the Rise of the Resistance, which was a trip. We got to go to Graceland. I rented out Graceland for him to check out, and it was really awesome, man. He was such a great guy, and when he even was willing to come back the next year, I was like, heck yeah. That's what we usually try to do. Here's the hook. The whole point of this convention is not the corporate thing. It's not the money thing. It's about the experience. And I try so hard to avoid what I consider bad guest stars. And a bad guest star is somebody that pushes you through the line, that's grumpy to you, that's not nice to you. Here's the thing. If you're handing over XYZ amount of dollars, you should literally buy their time for that next 30 seconds or a minute that they take to sign a photo. And if they aren't appreciative of that, then there's no place for them at our show. I don't care if they're King Kong. And that's something that's crazy. There's a lot of things I do that are crazy, but the reason why is because it's not my income. I just do it for fun. So crazy is okay, and crazy makes the experience better. I would much rather have XYZ guest stars. I turned down somebody who's massive. I won't say who it was, but massive. And I could have got a good deal, but they required a cave, which is like where you sign and you have like a pipe and drape walkway that's like a maze, so no one can ever see you. They wouldn't do a panel. They wouldn't do any personalization of autographs, and they wouldn't do any send-ins and anything like that. And I was like, you know what, man, forget it. I don't care. I don't care how big you are, but that's a bad experience. You don't want to go pay $200, walk down a tunnel because this person, I mean, you're a movie star, man. If a little kid that's 10 years old wants to walk by and take a picture from a mile away, so be it. You know what I mean? And I've got a real problem with that disconnect. And since literally no one else owns a piece of this, I can do whatever I want. So that's the whole point of this. That's why I fight tooth and nail and don't make money. It would be simple. I have had massive offers from a whole bunch of different investors, and I turn them down flat every time. It's not because I don't like them. It's because if you bring on investors like that, all of a sudden you're charging $11 for a soda and $35 for orange chicken. And I am not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm not charging $1,000 for a VIP room where it's exactly the same as having a press badge or a vendor badge, where they have a tepid water cooler in the corner and metal folding chairs. I'm going to feed you. I'm going to make you happy. You're going to have ice creams. You're going to have pie. You're going to have snacks. You're going to have access. You're going to have free drinks. You're going to have an entire day to yourself, and it's going to be half the price. And the reason why is because there is no rainforest rare earth coffee table that I have to put my board of directors around. We meet on a free Facebook meeting group, and none of us make any money.
So what's really great about this convention too is we're pulling in from two different generations. So obviously we got, we told Palpatine's going to be there. So we're also celebrating the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. So we've got some great guests there, and then we're also celebrating Star Wars Rebels, which we're getting ready to see the live action version of. So our next guest, we'll bring him up here real quick. You guys might know some of his little characters out there. Good old Mark Dodson. If you're familiar with he's a regular, and he's a great guy there. And Michael,
he's a really, really kind guy. He's been a million different voices and stuff. What I tried to do with Return of the Jedi this year, so we could focus on Return of the Jedi. Here's the thing. Mark Hamill is currently unattainable for anything involving anything. Harrison Ford would, I don't know, do literally anything on this planet besides do a sci-fi convention and sign autographs. So you're looking at Return of the Jedi, and where do you go? So I wanted to get all very memorable characters from Return of the Jedi. Stephen Constantino gets to come to my show till the end of time. Do you know why? Do you want me to tell you? What happened is the first year I didn't realize as a convention promoter, you have to have a cleanup crew. So Stephen Constantino had a late flight, and he sat there with my wife and I, and he swept a 178,000 square foot venue with us. And he will always be able to come till the end of time. So Steve, I love you, man.
Steve's a great guy, and he found a way to get people to work his table for him when he wants to walk away.
Yeah.
He duped me last year for minutes. which I'm gonna get you back, Steve. Don't worry, it's coming. I was sitting at his table for a while there covering for him until we came back. People were asking for my autograph. I should have just started signing.
You should have, dude.
But yeah, it was he's definitely a great guy. Good old Steve there. And then we also got Max Rebo.
Yeah. Simon Williamson. And see, that's what I'm going with the characters where we all know them and they're distinctly Return of the Jedi. And that way for the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, it's awesome. I'm really hoping that one of the theaters right next to the hotels, the host hotels, will play Return of the Jedi. I've tried to talk to them. I haven't been able to make it happen myself, but it is the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi on the Thursday before the convention. So most people are already there on Thursday anyway. So if there's a Return of the Jedi thing, I'm going to figure out how to get it all, or at least point you guys in the right direction.
And then we go into Rogue One.
Yes, Spencer Wilding.
Spencer coming. I know he was supposed to come last year, so I'm glad to see he's coming this year.
Yeah. Well, we lost him 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years ago. That's right.
What happened is him and Jimmy V, they were on a flight, and the flight went to connected in France, Charles de Gaulle Airport in France. And when they got off, there were COVID rules at the time that didn't let them board the flight to America. So I had it all worked out where they could have got from England to America, but England to France to America didn't happen. So yeah, I wanted to have them back. So I got Jimmy V as well. Spencer Wilding and Jimmy V, they're really good friends. And Jimmy V's essentially the new R2. He's the guy inside R2-D2. And Spencer Wilding is just a really cool, giant, imposing Darth Vader. Plus, they're both crazy nice. If you notice, every single one of these guest stars, Femi Taylor, shoot, I challenge you to find anybody on the planet that could say a bad word about Femi Taylor. She is a sweetheart. She's super duper kind. But that's what I go for, man. If you're awesome and a nice person, you get to come.
All right. So before we get into the more Star Wars, let's throw this one out here, guys. We're gonna go a little bit away from Star Wars for a second, and somebody who I wouldn't mind kind of seeing in the Star Wars universe because he's probably one of my favorite actors. But we're gonna throw this up here anyways, even though it's a Star Wars show. How amazing is this guest lineup person right here?
Charlie Cox.
Charlie Cox.
I'm not done with the Daredevil stuff. You keep an eye out.
Oh, you hear that guy? Everybody, if you're watching now, you just heard it.
Oh,
Insider here. There's going to be some more Daredevil stuff coming down the road here. So keep an eye out on those announcements there. But let's get really into.
Well, the major reason here for let me tell you the Daredevil thing, man, is because we're about collectibles, not just Star Wars collectibles. And everybody's always like, it's a Star Wars con. And I always get like, there's always Ninja Turtle people or Power Rangers or some Star Trek people or something like that. But I really wanted to make it a point this year and say we're not just a Star Wars con. Because we get pigeonholed in there a lot. And I think Charlie Cox, man, everybody knows Charlie Cox. So as far as not just a Star Wars con, that proves it. Because yes, he is like the only famous person on the planet that hasn't been in Star Wars, but I'm quite sure he'll be in the next episode of The Mandalorian. No, I'm just kidding. I don't.
He could have been the last one. We just don't know it yet.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler
alert!
But yeah, it's just great there that these lineups and you've had other non-Star Wars.
Yeah,
and
started with Shatner.
Great about this convention. It just there's always something there for somebody. And that's what I love about it. From artists to, there was Ninja Turtle artists there last year. There was, you had everything there. But again, here we go. I'm getting excited.
Good.
Star Wars Rebels, guys. This is a great. The last time I remember and I could be wrong, but the last time I remember this whole crew together was Star Wars Celebration in Chicago.
They only had 4 of them.
Yeah, so they didn't even have them all. But I mean,
no Freddie Prinze Jr. there. Freddie Prinze Jr. actually, as far as I know, has never done a celebration.
No, he did. He did because that's where I got him. I got him in Chicago.
Because I know he did. Are you sure it wasn't C2E2? Because they did one of those.
No, it was Chicago.
Okay.
He was one of my Rebels ones there. But
all right.
I mean, look at this cast and why this cast means so much to me with Rebels. Just so everybody knows, Taylor Gray, who played Ezra, was my first ever Star Wars interview that I ever did. And the bad news about that was on my way out of the hotel leaving that day, I dropped my phone and broke it and lost the interview. But great.
Time for a redo.
Yeah,
I'll give you another
try to make that happen down there. But yeah, it's awesome. That was my first ever interview. Michael, just tell us, how did this come about? And just let's give us the process and talk about this awesomeness.
Well, James Arnold Taylor, who plays Obi-Wan Kenobi in Clone Wars and stuff, he came here 3 years ago for the convention, or 4 years ago. He's been a bunch of times, and he came here for the convention, and he ended up moving here to Tennessee. And we became really good friends. And so I always talk to him whenever it's voice actors and stuff like that. And I'm like, do you happen to have the number for blah, 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 you know? And he happened to have the number for Vanessa Marshall, and Vanessa Marshall had the number for Taylor Gray. And then I had a really, really dig for Steve Bloom. It took a while. And then it took a while for Tia, for sure. And then Freddie Prinze Jr., I happen to run into like his like exclusive only agent that happens to live in Nashville. So that just was like a leprechaun. But no, it was a long road, and I was all the way up until I'd say Freddie Prinze Jr. I was afraid I wasn't getting them all. Steve Bloom and Tia was the hardest because she's through like an agency, because her least famous, the problem is, here's the hook. For these Rebels people, their least famous roles are the Rebels. And so when you're trying to put a Rebels convention together, it's not like the Clone Wars people where they have like one agent that does all the Clone Wars people. And that's because, you know what I mean? They're all like grouped like that. This is like Freddie Prinze Jr. He's way more famous for I Know What You Did Last Summer, or even, I didn't even know this until like 2 weeks ago, but I guess he like was a writer for the WWF and WWE forever. Yep. And he has some wrestling show on A&E now. I had no idea, but he's way more famous for that, but I didn't know. Like, it was really funny when I was doing Steve Bloom's graphic, his bigger graphic. It has a lot more on it, but his bigger graphic, because he's like a million different things. Cowboy Bebop. He's like that anime guy with the big giant sword that I don't know who he is, but it's always at a convention. You know what I mean? Like that big super sword. And he's like a whole bunch of anime people. So when I was booking him, I'm talking to his agent, and I'm like, well, she was like, he needs to do the approval on the last thing just to make sure you get all his different characters. And I was like, well, how about you tell me what characters those are? Because I was just going to put a big picture of Zeb and then a big picture of him, because I want him for Zeb. But I guess that's like his least famous role. Yeah. So it's tougher to book those people, because I'm going into it like, I love you in Star Wars. And it's like, that was like 7 seconds of my life, man. But okay, you know. But so yeah, that was really cool, and that was a big deal when I got him. And then even Tia, she's all like The Good Place and like all these TV shows, and you know, it's so. But got them all, and all 5 Rebels are going to be there.
And just for you completionists out there, like, you know, there's one guy I know here in this film that has to have like every Rebels thing signed. I don't know who that is, but just so you guys know, there's going to be, actually, this is pretty cool. If you're a Funko collector, I put this in the IC Funko group. Steve Bloom and Freddie Prinze Jr. And the only other person that is known for this role is Dave Filoni, and that's the Imperial Super Commando Trooper, the Mandalorian Trooper. So that Funko Pop that was an exclusive can actually be signed by Freddie Prinze and Steve Bloom, because they are two of the 3 credited voices for that. So it was kind of cool to find. I like to find those weird little ones that people don't know about. Like last year, Anna Graves was Sabine's, when she was possessed, the voice of Sabine there. Oh, yeah. And I have the first ever pop she ever signed ever. And she actually wrote that on her pop at your convention, which I thought was amazing. For that. Awesome. But let's get into something here really special for everybody. Last year we were able to break, you know, good old Ahsoka coming down there. That's coming. That hasn't been announced yet, and we're getting ready to reveal that right now. I'm going to give you a hint. You might kind of be angry at her because she might have been involved with a certain Jedi's death. But, Michael, do you want to go ahead and just let us know? And I'm going to bring the graphic up.
I'm just trying to keep it civil, man. I got all these Rebels. I need somebody to keep them in check, or else they'll just cause a ruckus. You know, like I can't have them stealing all the fuel and stuff from the convention. So we had to get Governor Price to reel them in. But then again, that's one of those other ones where Governor Price is like her least famous role ever. But I wanted her for Governor Price. She is Mary Elizabeth McGlynn, and she has been pretty much every girl in every anime show ever. And also happens to be Governor Price. So I was like, hey, Governor Price, you think you could? And she was like, well, okay. but she still kind of doesn't believe me that people are going to be like, Governor Price, you're awesome. But she is, and like we know her as Governor Price, and just her voice career is amazing, man. Actually, I lucked out with her and Steve Bloom for random things falling into my lap. It happens to be the 25th anniversary of Cowboy Bebop, and they're the two main characters. I had no idea.
I didn't either. I'm not a big anime fan at all, but that is the one anime that I actually really enjoyed. And to your earlier point, it always cracks me up though. Steve Bloom or these people at conventions, I'm like, oh, that's Spike from Cowboy Bebop, and it's like, oh well, no, I'm getting him signed for this thing, and I'm like, I have never seen that before in my life. I don't know who that character is, but he's done so many voices. I'm like, sure.
Yeah,
I may have to. I'm thinking some Cowboy Bebop stuff to get signed. I did not realize it was the 25th anniversary of that. That's awesome.
Dude, I found out like 3 weeks ago on another podcast because I was talking about him and I was like, and he's super famous for Cowboy Bebop. And they're like, you know what? It's 25th anniversary of Cowboy Bebop. I'm like, oh, well, cool. The only reference I had to Cowboy Bebop in my life, because I'm such a Star Wars nerd, was remember Ready Player One?
Yep.
Because it was like his favorite movie. So that's where I know Cowboy Bebop from.
Yeah, he definitely threw a curveball at me with her coming, because now I'm going to have to figure out how to have her sign a pop, which I'm probably just going to put her on a chopper and put all the people that don't have Rebels that don't have a Funko Pop will all just sign chopper or something. But yeah, I see a lot of people going, I don't have that figure. I'm like, well, now you're going to have to find something. But so awesome.
I am quite sure she has another figure on a Funko Pop somewhere with all the characters she's been. Maybe not a Star Wars one, but something.
Yeah, what a just great lineup, and I'm glad we got to announce her tonight on the show. It's just exciting to get there, and then again the Rebels thing, I'm pumped. I mean, guys, if you have not been down to Nashville for this convention, you need to go check it out. You know, it's been one of those ones where you don't know what's going to happen. People who know me, I like Boba Fett just a little bit. I had one of the most amazing moments of my life, and I have become friends with all of the Boba Fett actors because of this convention. I talk to them pretty much some daily. You know, it's unreal. This, like, you never know who you're going to be hanging out with, having a beer or Pepsi with. You just never know what's going to happen at this convention. And this is not like any other convention. Yeah, you bump into them at Celebration, they say hi, they take a pic, they go away. Here, friends, you just don't realize what this convention does for people in the fandom. And it's just been unreal. You know, my dream has come true. I can die happy. I had beers and sat down with all the Boba Fett actors, other than Morrison, and had a great time. But I'm original.
Give me some time. He was filming this year. There's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah,
but I'm working on it. He's on the list for eventually.
But yeah, it's just unreal. Like what can happen down there. And you know, I promised Michael too. I'm going to show you. He also has his first commercial up. So we're going to play that real quick and let you guys check out the new commercial for this convention.
Come experience the premier sci-fi convention in Middle Tennessee, where fans from all corners of the globe converge on Nashville to bring you the world's top collectibles, cosplayers, and movie stars. You will be transported back to your childhood when you see your old toys and meet your heroes in person. Locally owned and operated ICCC, welcome to the future of conventions. ICNashville.com.
I mean, I see one error with that. He didn't have a picture of me in there, which I just can't believe it. But
I don't know.
No, Michael, it's awesome. It's a commercial. I'm glad we could show that on the show tonight.
Thanks, man.
But we're excited about it. I know that, you know, it's one of those conventions that I enjoy going to. Travis, last year was your first year, correct?
Yeah, at first I'm gonna say Steve Bloom may have to watch his back. That voiceover commercial may be coming for him. My last year was the first time I got to go. You know, I'd heard from you years previously, like, hey, this is a really good convention. Let's do, you know, I'm going again. And I was like, hey, let's do it. You know, lineup looked great. Talking with Michael about it previously. To everybody that I've talked to that's gone to it, Facebook comments, it's hard to put into words like why it's different and how it's different, but it is just different than other conventions. I also went to Celebration last year as well, and kind of just, you know, comparing and contrasting. It's a lot different. it's a friendlier, fan-driven sort of environment. I kind of chuckled to myself a little bit. I saw on one of the Celebration Facebook groups today, somebody said, "Hey, wouldn't it be great if the fans put together a convention and it wasn't driven by Disney and marketing?" And I was like, I'm going to say something about this convention, ICCCon, but I scrolled through the comments and I was like, oh nope, somebody beat me to it. Hey, check out ICCCon. It's in Nashville. It's kind of like the same sort of a thing. It's for the fans, kind of by the fans. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out, even if you're not the biggest toy collectible kind of person, still go. It's still a really great time. Don't be misled and think, oh, if I'm not a huge vintage toy collector, there's nothing for me. That's not the case. There were still great artists. The guests were awesome. Even just hanging out with the fans, the room sale. I didn't even know it was a thing until I'm walking through the hallway, and Greg was like, "Oh, this is a thing," and I'm like popping into a room and so I was like, "Here, have a beer. Oh, buy some Han Solo stuff." This is just a really cool, fun event for a weekend. It's not just a convention. It's like you said, it's kind of a weekend long Star Wars fan party for everybody to hang out.
Yeah, it's definitely there. I mean, if you guys haven't been there, like I said, go check it out. I mean, it's Nashville. I mean, there's so much to do there, so much fun to do.
Well, actually, we're going to get you down there too, man. I haven't announced that yet either, but I'll tell you. What I did is I rented a bunch of buses, full-size buses, ADA compliant buses, and your badge will get you not only back and forth to the convention from the host hotels all day long, but also on Friday and Saturday night, it'll take you back and forth to downtown Nashville until midnight. So that way everybody could tie a couple on if you want, and you don't have to drive. It'll be an all-inclusive type deal. And that way your badge will get you into that. And your badge will get you a lot of other discounts. You'll find out when you get to the con. But it's really grown into something special. And the reason why is because, man, honestly, we just try to treat the fans nice. We try to treat the actors nice. Shoot, man, Stephen Constantino, because he's watching, but the con men. Do you know of the con men?
Yep.
Okay. So what happened is Stephen Constantino and Jeffrey Cantor got together one year, and they started playing with our house band, Mize in the Drive, because we have a whole bunch of bands play and stuff like that. I mean, there's live music all day long. It's very different for a convention, but even the guest stars get up there and they get into it. And the con men, I know Jeff's trying to get a whole bunch of t-shirts made and stuff like that, because it's like this real thing. And they've been meeting up for, I think it's going on the 4th year now at ICCCon, just playing tunes. So even the guest stars, they really have fun. And when they have fun, they interact more with the people. And I don't know, man, there's something to be said to be sitting under that nice Tennessee sky, listening to a band with a couple of actors in it while you're having a drink and hanging out with some Star Wars nerds while there's 8,000 people from whatever meetup it was doing the lightsaber. Did you see that lightsaber thing?
Yep.
Where they all had the lightsaber fight in the lobby last year? It was awesome. But the community is what drives it. Guys like you drive it. The people that collect drive it. I have nothing to do with those room sales at all. I pick out the host hotels and I make the deals so we get better deals on the room rates. But those room sales just happen. I'm asleep. I go after the day of the con, I go find Taco Bell somewhere and I try to sneak into my room in the path of least resistance. No, it's really wild. And even what we have this year is now we have a bunch of meeting rooms in the hotel spaces that we have given out to certain clubs or stuff like that have reached out that wanted to put on things or do shows. So there'll even be shows at night at these hotels. Top golf, pools. I mean, it's going to be a trip. And all these hotels go into it because unlike anywhere else that does anything in hotels, for some reason, regular conventions don't like go to the hotels and warn them. And I do that from the get-go. I'm like, listen, we're going to fill your hotel with nerds, but they will come down at like 8 o'clock at night and put all their toys in your lobby and you won't be able to walk there. And they're like, oh, that's okay, as long as you rent the whole thing. And I'm like, I'll take them, so it really works out. And that's the thing, man, whether it's the attendees, whether it's the guest stars, whether it's the volunteer team, whether it's me, we all work together to make us all have the best experience. And I don't think there's that much communication because the other conventions, they get so big, there's 400 people that are making decisions and making choices, and there's so much red tape. Instead, it's just me, and somebody calls up and they say, "Hey, listen, man, I have a speeder bike and I'm a Pepsi Mandalorian. Can I come?" And I go, "Yeah, sure, man. That sounds awesome." You know what I mean? Like stuff like that, and it's that quick. You know what I mean?
And Michael, there was a question there that Alex asked,
Yeah.
and he goes, "How close is the convention to the hotels?"
The hotels are 15 minutes from the convention, and the hotels are 15 minutes from downtown. But it is in Mount Juliet, which is a ridiculously safe place. And the way I set it up is all the hotels are within 0.3 of a mile of each other. And the only thing in between the hotels and the other host hotels is a gigantic, awesome liquor store. You'd be all right. But no, there's a whole bunch of food options there. There's like a Buffalo Wild Wings that's right behind the Hampton. I mean, you could really walk and eat and do whatever if you want. But the way we were doing it with the buses and stuff, we were trying to do like a downtown Disney thing, except our downtown Disney happens to be Nashville, Tennessee.
All right.
So
Cool.
everybody, it's going to be a great convention. You're going to want to go there. We're starting to run out of time tonight. I mean, I could probably sit here and talk hours about this and then going back to Celebration and everything else. But again, I want to thank Michael for being on the show tonight, talking about this convention. He will be a guest every year for this convention. It's just awesome that he puts this thing on here. Of course, real quick before we go, I always like to talk about something that's very important to me, and that's mental health of our fellow veterans, brothers and sisters, and people who didn't serve. There's a lot of stuff out there, and it's a tough world out there right now, people. And this is something that we use for our escape to get away from the real world. And it means a lot to me, and it's helped me a lot. But ask your friends if something doesn't look right, ask them if they're doing okay. You could not only change their life, you could save their life. And to me, that's very important. Reach out to those organizations that help, like Mission 22 is very, very dear to me. People, it's a tough world out there, and it's hard to believe how a little hello or how you doing, brother or sister, what it means to you. I know for me as a veteran, it means a lot when my brothers and sisters reach out to me and ask me if everything's going well. And to me, that's very important. So everybody out there, we care about you. We want to see you every year at a convention. If you're struggling, feel free to reach out, man. Don't be ashamed. Don't be scared. I know I used to be scared when I had thought that, and now I know that people have my back. So again, very important to me. Everybody out there, be nice to everybody, be kind. That's what I love about these conventions. We can go out there, people don't judge, and we can be ourselves. And to me, that is more important than anything, is being ourselves. So Michael, thank you for having that does that for us.
One thing there for you, brother. Number one, just as far as that is concerned, man, we appreciate the heck out of everything that you guys do. It allows us to stay home and play Star Wars toys. So yes, just to tell you, we're having the Defenders detachment. They will be on site, and they're all retired military or first responders, stuff like that also cosplay. They're a LFL certified cosplay club, and they will be on site. Also, we offer the highest amount of discount for any convention in the world for anyone that has been active duty or retired military or first responders. It's 25% off everything, even the VIPs. So thank you for your service, man. And everybody out there, if you ever need a shoulder to talk to, I'm your guy too. And man, if you ever need anybody, I have such utmost respect for the people that let us stay home and stay safe that my phone's always on.
Yep. And I appreciate it, Michael. And Michael's actually donated to us this year for our Mission 22 fundraiser. Somebody got 2 free passes to go and a William Shatner autograph, which was awesome. They gave us some great things on that. I appreciate him for that as well.
But you guys are
for people that don't know the comment about my neck, I did just have neck surgery like 2 weeks ago. And it is actually healing very well. I'm actually impressed with that. So Nikki, thanks for calling that out. So now I'm like staring at the screen, looking at my incision.
That's right. I'm just fat, so it's worth
out. But again, everybody, thank you so much. Thank you again to our sponsor, TRG Toys and Collectibles. Make sure you check them out, trgtoys.com. Make sure you check Travis and myself out, the hashtag show. You can follow me at NerdyVet574, Travis at the Indiana Salon. And then Michael, you can find him at ICCC Con. You can find him everywhere on the internet. Just look for the ICs. You'll find Michael everywhere. And again, everybody, thank you so much. And until we meet again, may the force be with you.